It's the end of the day, and I'm here in the city of Tekirdağ. Again, I'm sorry for saying that wrong. I have to say it every time. I'm sorry for saying it wrong. But I'm here, and I'm about 150 kilometers from Istanbul. I just calculated, which is kind of exciting and kind of scary. Um, Today, I spent most of the day just thinking about what I was going to do after I got to Istanbul, and I have no idea. I just, I think, I think today I had way too much sugar, and my brain just went into like hyperdrive mode, and I was just having so many ideas out of left field that I didn't know what to do with them. And it's cool to have all these opportunities, and be in the position where you have so many doors open and you have so many different opportunities you can pursue. But my brain just went a bit crazy today. So I left this morning from that campsite that I stayed at last night. Bit of a late start because I was staying at this campsite, and there was no rush to kind of pack up. I was using the Wi-Fi bit in the morning, trying to contact people on warm showers. Looks like I have someone who will host me in Istanbul, at least for the first night. After that, I'm not sure, and he seems really helpful. He's giving me lots of warnings about not to ride in Istanbul because it's very dangerous. So I'm getting a little bit scared, let's say, about riding into Istanbul. Lots of people have been saying it's very dangerous, but I don't know. I can't see how it'd be any worse than anything else I've seen so far. Athens was pretty terrible, but I guess it remains to be seen. So I set off this morning. It was a bit of a logistical. There was a few logistical areas this morning. First up, pretty shortly after I left, I rode up this really big hill, and I got to the top, and I saw like a military blockade, and I looked at the map and I realized that Komoot has routed me straight through a military base. So good job, Komoot, you've done it again. And so I was like rolling up to the top of this hill, looking at my map, and I heard someone call out to me as I was rolling up, and I looked up, not sure where the voice had come from, and I saw this guy standing in a tower, with the full military like camo, holding a machine gun, and he was friendly, so I just asked him if he spoke English, and he said a little bit, and I explained that I was just trying to get through to the other side, and he told me I had to go around. So he wasn't. He was very friendly. He was very helpful, despite holding a machine gun. He wasn't pointing it at me. That was nice. So that was the first error. The second error was that I neglected to pick up anything for breakfast in the afternoon yesterday. So basically, I didn't have any food left, and the next big town was a place called Sarkoy, I think. And so that was kind of my goal, and I was riding that way, and then I didn't realize it, but Komoot had routed me like on some very like gnarly dirt roads with like, it was like going straight down and then straight back up again, and I had to get off and push a few times, and it was a bit much for an empty stomach. So I got there in the end. Well, I got past all that, and then there was a sign pointing left, inland, and it said Senkoi 1 kilometer that way. So I thought, okay, it's worth going a detour to get some food. So I went in there, and I get there, and it's this tiny little town, and there wasn't even a market. The town was so small. There was just a little building with a couple of guys playing cards out the front. And I thought, well, this is no good. So I checked my map again, and I realized I'd been stitched up because the big city that I was aiming for was called Sankoi, and then the town that I was in was called Senkoi. So I was at the wrong place. So I rode back to the highway and then went up another hill. And then soon enough I made it to the town of Sankoi, and then yes, sure enough, there was a bunch of restaurants and supermarkets in there. So I kind of went a bit crazy because I was so hungry at this point. I went in and there wasn't really any like there's a bunch of different supermarket chains here, and the one I went to just didn't really have any real food. So I got a bunch of like biscuits and lollies and snacks and stuff, but like nothing substantial. Ended up buying like a tub of ice cream, and I just like ate that straight away as soon as I came out of the supermarket. So I had a tub of ice cream for lunch, and then I was going to go to another supermarket called Migros, which I know usually has better stuff. And on the way there I got sidetracked because there was a restaurant which looked pretty decent, and I stopped there and got some pied, just like a slice of, well, it's like a loaf of bread cut in half, and they just put some cheese on it. So I didn't, usually that has meat, but I just had cheese, and it came with a salad, and they gave me a chai tea as well, and it was all of that was like $5. So that was pretty good lunch. And then continued after that. And then, because I had so many, I bought so many like snacks at that first supermarket I went to, and I had eaten that whole tub of ice cream. And then I went to another supermarket, Migros, and I got some more things, and I got a can of iced coffee, and I smashed that. And so I was just I was just bouncing out of my skull with like energy, which was great because pretty soon after that there was a huge hill climb coming up. Well, it seemed huge anyway. Like it was only about 600 meters, the climb, 650 I think, and it seemed to take a long time, but it just certainly wasn't as big as some other climbs I've done. The biggest one I've done in a while, but I think the biggest one I did was in Albania, and that was like 1,000. So it was big, but it wasn't the biggest, and had an amazing view from the top of the coastline, and I could even see a few islands heading back, looking back towards Gallipoli. And it was nice because I had, at the start there was I was riding, and then like out of the corner of my eye I saw something, and I turned around and there was a dog kind of trotting along with me, and he had a collar on, so obviously someone owned him. And so he kind of like ran with me the first like couple of kilometers up the hill, and then we found another dog with another collar, and then he started running with us as well. So there was like me and the two dogs running up the hill for about half an hour before the dogs gave up, and I kept going. And I got a few strange looks from people as I rode past with these two dogs. As the hill kept going up and up, like cars were going past me, and people were like cheering and honking their horns and stuff, which was nice. Like I said, my brain was just going in so many different tangents, and I think from the last couple of days of exploring Gallipoli and reading into all the war history and all that stuff, like, and thinking about what I'm going to do after Istanbul, like for the first time in at least a year, I again convinced myself that the right thing for me to do was to join the Australian military, which is something which I've kind of wanted to do for a long time, but I'm very conflicted about it because on one hand I'm a pacifist and I hate the idea of hurting anyone or anything, but on the other hand I really think the skills that I would get and what I would get out of working for a couple of years in the military would be pretty invaluable, and I think it would be a lot of fun actually as well. So it's funny, like the the combination of the sugar and not really knowing what's going to happen after Istanbul, these old like ideas come back into mind, particularly like because of the last couple of days of being influenced by the war history. And I don't know if it's because like these museums or whatever, they romanticize the idea of war or whatever, or if they're designed to be propaganda in some way, but it certainly influenced me. I noticed that, and so that's an idea I'm going to sit on for a while still. I think certainly not a time to be making big decisions like that, but I have also had this idea for a couple of weeks now of trying to get one of my contacts at Ames to give me a tour of the university in Saudi Arabia, where they're doing a lot of coral research. So a lot of marine scientists from Australia have gone to work there, and so I think it would be really interesting for me just to go and see what they're doing, and then with the potential for the future, maybe they might want to offer me some work there. But I need to talk to a few people about that, particularly my boss, or my old boss, Mark, because I wouldn't want to do it without his knowledge, or at least his blessing almost, because I don't want to go behind his back, because I am still technically employed by Ames, so I wanted him to be on board with it. So that's another idea I've been thinking about for a while, of like potentially continuing on from Istanbul and riding to Saudi Arabia, and then going and having a tour of this facility. That could be a cool way to end the trip. End the second part of the trip anyway, because this trip is ending in Istanbul for sure. That's the end of this trip. Anything after that is the next trip. So yeah, a few ideas bouncing around my head. I have no idea what's going to happen still, and that's the way it should be. So I got to the top of that hill, which took quite a while, and I was very sweaty, and I had a go at taking some like time delay photos, where I could take a picture of me and my bike up on the summit. It was sort of successful, sort of not. The lighting wasn't great, but zoomed down that mountain, went past a bunch of like quite large ports with like hundreds and hundreds of large shipping containers and trucks loading them in ships and stuff. That was quite impressive. And yeah, arrived here in Tekirdağ. I couldn't be bothered cooking anything, so I got some Domino's. It was the only pizza restaurant I could find. I went to a couple of other restaurants, but they were way too expensive. And I nearly lost my sunglasses again, but after I rode off, one of the restaurant workers came in and handed them to me. So that was nice. And so now I'm here. I'm just finishing my beer, and then I will go set up my tent. I think there should be a good spot just up the road here, I hope. I'm in a park at the moment, but I think the spot that I'm thinking of is just adjacent to the park outside of it, so I think that should be good, but we'll see shortly when I go and suss it out. So yeah, probably 2 days to Istanbul, tomorrow and the next day. I could do it in one day, but I don't think I want to, so that's it. Bye.